Hello, everybody. My name is Mike McDonough. I'm with Lenovo. I lead product management, product marketing management, and I'm a general manager at the company for software. Before I begin, I just want to let you know that for those individuals who are in statistics, I think you have a pretty good shot compared to the rest. We're having a raffle right off to the right, and I'm telling you, I think we're in double digits here for the chance of actually winning. So we'll leave that to the side. So going back to it, today I'm going to speak to you about AIOps. The reason why I'm talking about AIOps is for the last year and a half as an executive of the company, I've been leading a venture into understanding what is Lenovo's position in AIOps. Where should we be focused? And also, how can we serve our customers as well as our ecosystem in the AIOps environment? So we'll go through a couple things. I'm going to share what I found from the analysts and the press, is when we talk to them. Our customers, we have had over a 1,000 person survey, direct touch over the last. And if you're not familiar with Lenovo, we are a global company. So this represents just not North America, but it represents the 5 geos, which are represented as EMEA, North America, Latin America, AP, and PRC. In regards to PRC, our 5th geo, most of the stuff that we develop here, as we call the rest of the world, is specific to the rest of the world. If we do find value, we actually go ahead and that geo, PRC, stands on its own. So software and innovation that we develop here within Lenovo, which is really around 2 different areas, predominantly about orchestration and automation are the 2 areas. And those are 2 focus areas because we also work closely with partners and ecosystems, which represent 35 individual partners that we work through, okay? Number 3 would be the management layer. The management layer is an important aspect of it. And how do we connect with that management layer with collaborating with our partners? So all the great stuff that we're here to learn about this week with VMware, for everything from vCenter all the way up to TCOps and all the orchestration and automation that they offer, we connect into that. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you through more of the sterile side to give you a baseline. I'm going to establish a little bit of a definition for those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with AIOps or have not really started that journey. We're going to cover that as well. So just for my first thing, since we're for the local people, can I have a show of hands? Does anybody have an AIOps application or program? Are you have adopted it yet? Because I want to make sure I'm talking at the right level. If we all have adopted it, I'll take it to this level. If we're still learning, I'll make sure I pull it back and I give you a great baseline at the end of those 25 minutes. So my question is, show of hands, do you have an AIOps strategy and have you employed it yet? And I don't think many would, because I'll tell you it's fairly new to the market, okay? So let's just jump into it, and thank you once again for joining me here. Do not expect me to go through every single item here on this list, but we'll just say that AIOps at the highest level of the conversation is about in your operations, what we'll call day 2. We have day 0, day 1, and day 2. That's how we look at it. Day 0 is when a product comes into your company or as a partner. You are actually doing the fit and putting it in. That's day 0, which normally drives a lot of automation. Day 1 is the configuration side of things, specifically having to do of taking that product and gelling it or fusing it into your infrastructure. That has 2 aspects of it. That has both the automation side, which is day 0 we spoke about, and the orchestration side. And when we get to day 3, which is, that is like the life expectancy, the life cycle of it. That is orchestration, heavy orchestration, some automation. So with this being said, when we look at this, this gives the insight and the agility to migrate the IT risks that keep me up at night. I mean, that's really the statement here. It is about integrating models or analytics into your operations backplane. So if I took pause here and we went to the enterprise side or the global side of the business, then we'd probably have a fairly large knock. We'd have people out there who specialize in LANs, WANs, mobility, communications. And now we actually have different groups. Now this is very, very early on. There actually is groups of individuals who just focus on the AI side. That is the first misnomer that's out there in the industry. When we speak about AIOps, this is about the generic integration of AI into your operations substrate. I'll say it again. This is about the integration of AI, we'll say models, could be generative AI, there's many different versions of it, into your operations strategy. There are those who are more advanced, who wake up every day and have large modeling or model creation. They might broaden that conversation. They may broaden that conversation to say that AIOps is inclusive of the actual AI model business that it is. The contracts, the SLAs, the soft binding contracts, the ability to bring in, we'll say generative or different models, but also trying to monetize your data sets in the open market. Has anybody heard of a product under Amazon or AWS called, the product is Clean Room? Have anybody heard about that? Probably a little nod, okay. Well, I'll just spend a second here because we are here, we heard this morning about a lot of generative AI and AI conversation, and we heard the term about multi-cloud, right? Multi-cloud. So what Clean Room does, and some of the people who are monetizing the data sets out there, what that does, it scrubs the data that you're trying to monetize and puts it in a format that allows you to go ahead and lease that data out into the open market. Now, some of the more advanced companies out there, and we look at this as well because we ingest a lot of data, we can actually go to blockchain soft journals and use journaling in order to lock down and in order to enable customers to take partitions of data, or we'll take the old analogy of Coke and Pepsi, opening up the ability for Coke to share some of Pepsi's data, but not all the secret sauce of Pepsi, okay? So let's just take a look at some of these big questions in here. Is my application performing as expected? We'll go down a little bit. Is it deployed and configured in accordance with the vendor's best practice? Obviously, that's very critical. Is it protected and recoverable in case of loss? We'll call that backup data recovery, BCDR. Do I have the infrastructure platform capacity available to grow as expected? That falls into two different buckets. Bucket one has the ability, the agility to expand when needed. Bucket two is more preemptive modeling and looking forward to the what ifs of the future. When you look at AIOps, that is really what they're trying to achieve here. We at Lenovo have a certain onus, a responsibility inside of that. But similar to the OSI model, AIOps has different channels or levels that are being built and adopted as this product or as this platform, some consider it a platform, develops in maturity. What I'll do at the very end of this is give you some time to really understand more about where we fit within this. So I covered this a little bit on the interpretation. Similar to a rose, we all have a different way to explain it. And so I gave two examples here. I gave the Gartner example, which is a standard one. It works well. AIOps combines big data, and I think big data is important, right? With machine learning to automate IT processes, including event correlation, anomaly detection, and casualty determination. Many of the AIOps platforms that exist out there are an extension of previous organizations, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you'll find many of the new AIOps platforms are an extension of a LAN platform or a WAN platform or something else that has been before, and now they're extending and taking into models. If I blew up the source on Gartner and I have a different slide that really brings up more color there, you'll see it. Like all of this, there is also some consistency in here. When we look at development efforts and what they do, we offer, if we were the operations side, and is there anybody here from ops here? Ops teams? So we do have an ops guy. So as you know, or someone within your ops organization knows, there's SLAs, and you know about those SLAs. So those contracts that sit regards between you as the operations team, the development team, and the end users or the business units are something that has to be established. And there's dings and there's grades being given. And of course, with your QBRs or the reviews, they head on up. Now, I spoke to you early on as I introduced myself that we've been a year and a half into this. So if you look across the board here at these major vendors, I'm going to cheat a little bit and tell you who we've been working with a little bit. So we've been working with IBM. We looked explicitly at Turbonomics extensively. We used Turbonomics within, we ate our own dog food, and we integrated Turbonomics into our manufacturing facility. We did that for multiple months to test it on out. The second thing, we looked at Cisco as well. They're a great partner of ours. We looked at Splunk and ServiceNow, more of a connective tissue. So when we look at the stack, and we talked about the stack, it goes everywhere from the physical layer, and this is a great slide to talk about it, the infrastructure operational intelligence layer, or that physical layer, all the way up to the app layer. So if I take probably one of the more advanced ones, Turbonomics. Turbonomics has been acquired by IBM several years ago. It comes from a generative WAN previously in 2004, invented by Columbia, 2 PhDs, came out of Columbia University, and that became a platform for WAN optimization even before AI models were there. I would consider Turbonomics to be probably one of the more advanced services out there, and I would consider it now beyond a product, but more to in a platform. Because inside of the Turbonomics umbrella, what IBM has built, they have things like bursting capability as AI model contracts to multiple clouds, including themselves. They integrated predictive analytics and SLA contracts so that you, when talking and speaking to your customers or to your contracts, when you see something, you say something, early visibility. It also does budget considerations for next year. Quite advanced orchestration automation associated with it. And they just recently acquired Apptio, which just completed last week, as maybe some of you know, which gives them an even greater connection into the cloud. So now let's reflect about that in Lenovo. My conclusion as the leader of the software organization is that, and I have a board meeting coming up at the end of this month, so you are just right like next to our board. We're literally, you're seeing those insights with it. We're turning around and we're finding out where we sit. Where do we play? What should we do? Where should our extension be? Where should we partner? Where should we purchase? Maybe where should we embed? If you think about side of it, what I like to use as analogies closest to the pin. And I'm not a golfer. I'm a terrible golfer. But I think it has a really strong acronym or a vision of where we can play. And so you'll see where we can play is you'll see a lot more focus in on that substrate, the operational intelligence side of things. So we'll look at performance analysis. Performance analysis below the virtualization layer, whether it's container-based or VM-based, we'll look at that. We'll give capacity planning. That is a responsibility for us at the low end for the physical level. We'll look at service portals because some individuals are on this journey. VMware talks about the road, the journey often. Well, same here with AIOps. So we will have a dedicated portal. And actually that portal will be, you'll see shortly, I'll give you some times and release some timelines of when that will be occurring. We also have service ticketing. So we have the responsibility to do that. Where don't we see a play? Higher up, service levels agreements at the app level. We think the app level is where the application should play and they should live and they should have insights. But on the application level, what we'll offer to our partners in the AIOps strategy is that we have very advanced labs, interoperability labs. So in there we'll have, as we've been doing for years, we produce documentation to give insights into the performance of applications. These labs are global, by the way. Closest one, actually North Carolina. We have one in AP, we have one in Europe, and we bring apps in there. Those contracts will be adhered to. So we have opportunities for bare metal connectivity. There are some applications in AIOps or AI that will sit on top, directly tunnel down to the physical layer. That would be a hard contract. The other one's the virtual layer. On the virtual layers, we're fairly sitting in ships in a night situation where we are at the bottom of it and we are communicating to the virtualization layer, giving them insight. So we know that VMware uses DRS as an algorithm in a cluster per se. We give health recommendations to DRS, how the substrate is doing, how the hardware is doing. Not just at the server level, but we also have insights into the subcomponent level so they can make their decisions. Whether it's a GPU, which we're working on, but definitely today fans, CPU analysis with our Intel and AMD relationship. We do power supplies, things along those lines that we collect, and we go northbound, giving the virtualization layer insights to the physical layer and allowing them to take action. So coming back to the southbound layer, they can direct and prioritize applications, and we can do what we have to do on our lower level to support that. Okay? We also breach into the networking side. We extensively use, since we're at a VMware event, NSX, NSXT, the ability to connect not just into the server side, but also connection into the networking side. Looking for congestions at the virtual level, resolving it at the physical level. If we're seeing congestions, we could have a test at the physical level to test the health of the NIC, looking at congestions and giving insights at the macro level to take course in action. When we look at AIOps observability and log monitoring vendors, I've mentioned a couple of them earlier. We went ahead and we looked at that because many people on their AIOps journey begin with the logging and monitoring. And that may be good enough, especially in the commercial and the mid-sized market. We see quite a bit of activity happening at this level. Not everybody out there can afford and invest in a whole AIOps model or an AIOps strategy. So in that regard, we see a hybrid model approaching. And we see this mostly, as I said, in the commercial space, the commercial subspace. In that commercial space, we see the logging and monitoring insights that some of them we mentioned earlier are using, and then using our gateway, our management interface into the physical level in order to resolve those issues that may be happening below. Now, in that situation, the user takes more onus and responsibility onto it. You open up yourself to possible some operator error or some latency in resolving an issue. But not everybody has the deep pockets to build and design an AIOps strategy. And it's a great phase one. And I actually encourage those who are adopting it to consider this as a first phase of integration into a bigger, longer strategy. I'll say that again. I really consider that a first step or something to look at. This is a deeper look or deeper insight into the Gartner's vision of AIOps. If you look along the lines, each of these are features that with either in some of the product lines or what we consider some of the platforms that exist out there. Historical analysis, anomaly detection, performance analysis, not just, but real-time or near real-time performance analysis, and correlation, which is a very big part of, as my friend in operations knows, in order to do resolutions or problem resolution. Task automation reduces the exposure of this, changing risk analysis, and you can go through the rest. It's more of an eye chart. But these are the major features, for those who are not familiar with AIOps, that are really bundled in there. You can find these features in other applications that you find within your ops, in your ops center. However, being able to tightly tie them together and using modeling or maybe a sixth person on the basketball court in order to do early detection and automation is where the AIOps models in the AIOps application really separates itself from the manual side. Where do we play in this? We play a very vital role. At the end of the day, it always comes back to the hardware. It does. It comes back to the hardware. And the health of that hardware and giving insights is actually quite new. and I'll say again, quite new. The virtualization layer assumes mostly a binary up or down. It doesn't go to Benelli yellows or statistics of how high or what component. So a red on a down could be that maybe I have one NIC card down, but maybe I have 2 or 3 NICs or 4 NICs into a large server, and maybe I go tier 2, tier 3 apps instead of declaring it down. These are the type of insights that kind of get rolled on up through our northbound connections into the virtualization layer that prior, to be honest, has not been there, at least when I was at VMware. Now, if we take a look at this, a little bit of an eye chart here, but it's accessible. We'd recommend from Gartner, and it shows up better than the screen. You get a better cut of where the IT operations management side of it is. And this is the area that we focus it on. And so what I want to do here in the remaining minutes here from a time perspective is I want to just give you a deeper dive or a checkpoint of where we are. So this is my task list to the organization of what we are, and it'll give you a really good validity or validation of what we're doing. So I mentioned this throughout the presentation. Some of this might be new and some is just a level setting. So we're focused on the lower level on the AIOps stack, the physical layer. We're focused on predictive analytics on the server, storage, edge. Server, storage, and edge. The 3 core products that make up most of Lenovo. When I say edge, I'm talking about the PC level as well, all the way on out. Most people look predominantly at the data center, or they look at the edge at the server side. We're expanding that to the PC so that when your help desk gets those phone calls, there's a correlation between what they're connecting into. Number 2, it will deliver choice for SLA options and contracts. We're working with blockchain journaling so that you can turn around and have contracts at the sub-layer level, and they determine that. So those contracts will have gray levels. And those gray levels will allow us when we may have to burst to the cloud or actually negotiate or go back to the contract holder and let them know. Now, going back to predictive analytics, I want to say this is something we have here now. This year, we've gone ahead and we launched predictive analytics on the hardware as an early look into the capabilities. So if you are a Lenovo or thinking of becoming a Lenovo customer, we have SLA agreements with our hardware that allows you to get insights. So we give predictability out to 3 weeks of a incurring issue or an event that may be happening. We correlate this with the power supplies. We look at some of the subcomponents, not all of them yet, but we're expanding on it. But those models are giving you an early look before something goes bump into the night. We'll just say our first one happened in April, and it gave 2 weeks notice before a fan failed within a server. We're developing northbound and southbound stack or highway. You can see that's RESTful open APIs. We're also working into Kafka buses so that we can build applications on top of that. We're investing in SDKs. We have first SDK version alpha out the door so that you can develop your own apps on top of that. We're committing to the VMware connection, not because I'm here at VMware at Explore, but we've been working with them, and we have a major investment with VMware. We have invested several $100 million into multiple labs, and I would say that we have all the more modern applications. It's actually in Austin, Texas, and we have some around the world, one in Germany and one in my own facility here in North Carolina. All with the latest hardware doing regression testing between V1, V2, V3 of Intel, as well as AMD, as well as the interconnectivity to it. And we just have, this fall, we'll be announcing the connections into the orchestration automation layer of the VMware softwares. TCOps, VROps, all that stuff, okay? We're established integration into vCenter. That has been done today. That's been part of xClarity, which is our substrate. There'll be a new product coming out in a little bit. I'll talk about that in a second. We have commitment to SLA contracts to our professional services. That's what I mentioned before. So our prof services, if you do have someone early on, a TAM, someone managing a service, we have that associated with it. We have openness to customers' insights. So as we collect our data, all the insights we're feeding into northbound side of AIOps, some larger customers on the enterprise side we're on my last slide, are actually building their own models, their own operational models. So we have connectivity on the customer sites and rolled up to different geographies of where you'd want that to happen. And so with that being said, I want to thank you once again for your time. And with that being said, we're having a raffle. I'll stand around here for a little bit, but then I'm going out to a round table where we're going to have more depth on AIOps conversation. I thank you for your time, and good luck in your AIOps journey. Thank you very much.